Right, welcome back to another edition of the Really Woke Show. Myself, Really Woke Roxanne, I'm bringing you today a conversation about equal justice under the law. Many of you know the events that have played out across the country over the last few weeks, and we're here today to get stuck straight into what we can do now to self-empower ourselves. I'm joined by Sleeping Warrior and West End Wonderful, who I'm going to introduce to you now. So some of you may not know who this amazing man is sat beside me. He's gone up and down the country over the last few weeks and months during the end of lockdown till now, talking about these most contentious topics. We'll show you some clips as we're talking about what Jimmy's done. Actually, he's done a lot of bits and pieces with Stand Up X and Stand Up for the Children and Save Our Children, communities of individuals.
Groups.
Yeah,
we are a community. We're a like-minded community.
Yeah, and given a lot of selfless time to helping these communities get off the ground and motivating people to take control of, their own input into this, the freedom of speech aspect. So that is something we're going to bring more later on within this show. Anthony Riley, as you all know him as Sleeping Warrior, he's going to give us some input here as to how to empower ourselves. So without further ado, hello, my darlings. You all right?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good.
Riley, how are you today?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Over the last few weeks, people have been going out in their thousands, actually, in London. We've had thousands out in the streets in London, thousands out in Europe, hundreds, if not thousands, out across the country. Over the last weekend, though, you feel, a lot of other people feel the optics of what we saw. The police massively violated the Human Rights Act. We feel as individuals this needs to be spoken about. We also witness people getting arrested in Newcastle. We're not going to name any individuals for example's sake. I think it's better to keep names out of it, Anthony, at this moment in time. But we would urge anyone who has been arrested or detained to get in touch with us at The Really Woke Show. So you can email Roxanne@thereallywokeshow.com. Or is there an email for you, or do you want me to just leave it at that?
Just do it through yourself. I mean, fundamentally, I think we've all got to ask ourselves the question, can this government do what it wants to its people? Do we live in a tyranny? Do we live under a fascist state? Do we have to do everything that we're told to do? Or is there like a protocol in place that stops the government from being tyrannical? We're not living in a communist state. We're not living in a fascist state, or we're not meant to be. It's clearly heading that way, though. People are feeling it now. They weren't feeling it until recently, but this is, so obviously what's the date? 22nd of September. So it's Tuesday today. On Sunday, Andrew Marshall on Sky interviewed Matt Hancock. This document was presented to Matt Hancock, and Andrew Marr asked him, where are we at the moment? And because this is a new document to most of you, you won't have seen it very often. He was asked to explain where are we in the bigger schemes, in the bigger picture. And Matt Hancock's response was, we're at number 3. And Andrew Marr said, but number 3 says that the action that should be taken is a gradual relaxing of restrictions and social distancing measures.
Now, the government produced a series of tests as to where we were, and we can see some of them here. There is COVID alert level 3 and COVID alert level 4. Can I ask you, where are we now?
Well, this country faces a tipping point, and we have a choice. And the choice is, if everybody follows the rules and does the self-isolation, if they need to, follows the rule of 6, which is really simple and clear, and the basics, hands, face and space, then we can avoid further measures. Yeah. But the alternative to that choice is that we will have to bring in more action. And we don't want to do that, but every single person has a part to play in this. And everybody watching has a choice. Do you follow the rules or not? And if everybody follows the rules, then we'll be able to get the virus under control.
And they will hear you, I'm sure. But which level are we at the moment, 3 or 4?
Well, we're currently at level 3, but obviously the clinicians look at this all of the time.
So I'm just asking, because this is your own government's advice, and it says at level 3, you're actually talking about a gradual relaxing of restrictions and social distancing measures. And even if we go to level 4, it's still the current measures, and yet you're bringing in new restrictions. Why?
So that was on Sunday. So bear in mind, it's a gradual relaxing of restrictions. Now we're on Tuesday, and Boris has just released his statements at 12:30, and he's bringing in the army to enforce these provisions of the COVID restrictions.
The penalty for failing to wear a mask or breaking the rule of 6 will now double to £200 for a first offence. We will provide the police and local authorities with the extra funding they need, a greater police presence on our streets, and the option to draw on military support where required to free up the police. The measures I've announced all apply in England, and the devolved administrations are taking similar steps.
Part of me thinks, on the one hand, why is it such a disparity between what was said on Sunday to now, what's happened in the meantime that's suddenly taken a massive U-turn? And the other part of me thinks they don't know what they're doing. On the one hand, you've got Matt Hancock, who is the Minister for Health and whatever the title is, Health and Social Care, and he's saying that there should be a relaxing of restrictions because we're at level 3. But on the other hand, you've got Boris bringing in the army. So essentially what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you that the government, the state government, cannot do what it wants in this context because there are rules that stop them from doing certain things. And I'm going to try and show you that wherever the line does get drawn, this is in no way legal. This is in no way fair, just. It's not proportionate. It's not acceptable. But if I can tell you guys the arguments, the legal arguments, so with a little bit of understanding for it, it's very, very simple. You'll at least realize that this is wrong. So what it then empowers you to do is challenge them, because the law's on our side, the people, not my side personally, our side, the people. And there's enough of us now, because obviously Boris is going to the extreme right wing, because he's literally said he's bringing in the army to help with the police. Well, whatever happens, if you can imagine being in front of the shields, because we've seen them at the weekend, they had the shields out, the riot vans and the tear gas, and they had the police horses. They were treating the audience, the crowd, like hooligans, right? They were families, there were children, there was women there, pregnant women there. Can they do this? And is there anything that we can do to fight this? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll see that regardless of whether or not the law is on our side in this presentation, the fact that there needs to be a conversation means that nobody's going to be getting prosecuted under the Human Rights Act, because the Human Rights Act protects us from this stupid behavior from the government. You've just got to understand how it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I think this is where we empower ourselves with the information that we need to go out and at least freely express ourselves. Because at the moment, I'm seeing a change of things literally within 24 hours. A lot of the local shops are now being told that they're going to be fined by the local councils if they don't enforce mask wearing. And that's, secondary to the rule of 6. There's a lot of things that London is implementing today, actually. It's already rolling out underneath our feet. And this is going ahead on Saturday, whether anyone likes it or not. So I think this is the best way that we can tool people up with the right information. So thank you. Anyone in the chat room, if you have any questions, don't urge to put your questions in there. We are in the chat room now. We will be there to go back and forth with you and give you as much information, at least as much information as we're coming across anyway. So without further ado, Anthony, fire away.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to do this for starts so that you can do it yourself and you can check it, so that it's completely, it's not like it's like Gravity where you can't look up this stuff yourself. You can do this yourself. Hopefully it'll take about 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, we'll have a back and forth, and then and basically we'll talk to it, and we'll talk about this topic on the day-to-day grassroots level, because fundamentally, principally, you could end up face-to-face with a shield and a tear gas and a baton, and obviously we want to know what to do. Because we know what the government's going to do. The police are going to turn on the people and blame the people. Yeah. So let's do screen share so we can see this. All you need to do is you type in Human Rights Act 1998, and then the top legislation document from legislation.gov.uk. You should get a link that takes you straight into the government's thing. And what you're looking for is you need to scroll down to the schedules at the bottom. So if you open up the schedules, Schedule 1 is entitled the Articles. So if you open up that, and then you look down for article number 11. That's what we're going to focus on today. Okay. It's worth giving a shout out to Article 10 because it's the freedom of expression. That's the protesting bit, the shouty bit. was our rights back.
On that note, I would say anyone watching this right now, I'd like you to take a screenshot of what Riley is showing you, and anything that you feel is conducive. Can you give a shout out to the watchers to screenshot what you're showing them? Just on a quick access thing. Also screen record. Any of you that want to screen record this right now with the audio. This is usable information. A lot of us don't stand under the law in the first place. A lot of us don't recognize it. A lot of us are looking into common law already. So I know that there's a lot of people that their cognitive dissonance at this point is going to switch off the fact that they're paying attention, because they're going to dismiss all of law. But if you wish to go out and really express yourself, Riley, am I right in saying that we are going to need to be informed in order to do so, and do so correctly?
Yeah, but I want to appeal to the legal profession, because the legal profession should be all over this. There should be lawyers and barristers everywhere that are literally, instead of just talking amongst themselves at tea time or in the canteen or whatever, there should be people that know that this is wrong without much formal education. But the legal fraternity has got to be absolutely on the ball here, because this is the people that we're talking about. So any lawyers, barristers that can do something here, come on, spread the word and do something good for society. Let's get something sorted, because this is our rights as people, not as barristers, not as doctors. Why is it doctors that have got to stand up first before lawyers? It's not okay. Anyway, Article 10, freedom of expression. We all know about that one. We're allowed to do it. This is the key bit. Article 11 is where you want to focus your attention. The freedom of assembly and association, right? Everybody's got the freedom of peaceful assembly. That means congregating at Trafalgar Square. And the freedom of association with others. That means with your friends. We're all allowed to do that. It's our right. The problem is the police think that we think that it's an absolute right. And they say back to us when you challenge it, yes, but these are not absolute rights. And nobody knows what the response is. And this is where we need to be aware of what the response is. I'm telling you right now that they can curtail your behavior at certain times. Now, the pandemic situation, assuming that there is actually a pandemic, is one of the times where they can actually do it. But they're not allowed to do just anything. They're limited to what they can do, and they can't take the piss, which is what they're doing. So let's see how we get this implemented so that there's a conversation to have. Because the minute there's a conversation, which will be in court if you're arrested, that means that the burden of proof for the prosecution to prove beyond all reasonable doubt that you were guilty of an offence under the COVID guidelines or the COVID legislation cannot then be satisfied, because there is a legitimate question over what's going on. Not whether or not you broke the regulations. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you did. It's the implementation of the regulations by the state that's the question mark. So it's not all your behaviour. It's about the state's behaviour about acting with regards to these new legislations. So let's have a look at what it says. Everyone has the right of peaceful assembly and the freedom of association with others, including the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his interests. We're allowed to group, and we're allowed to disagree with the government. We're allowed to do it, okay? This is the key bit. Number 2, no restrictions by the state shall be placed on the exercise of these rights, that's protesters protesting, other than such that are prescribed by law, which is what they've done. So initially, it looks like they've got a law there that allows them to do it, but it's this bit that's the problem. And are necessary in a democratic society in the interest of national security or public safety. This is the key bit. It has to be necessary. Now, the word necessary is a bit of a weasel word, because what does it really mean? Now, there's lots of case law that addresses necessary. There's a link here for this PDF that I'm reading through. There's loads of information about this. This isn't limited to just this one document. It'll go in the description box probably before the show starts. It'll probably be there right now if you look. But this document just outlines some of the case law that deals with the word necessary. And if I scroll down to the relevant section, I'll have to get to it pretty quick. Bear with me while I find it. I hope I haven't gone past it already, but
it's all right. I can chop that bit out, and I can speed this bit up and make it go.
Okay. So the necessity test. Let's just have a look at this. The nature of democratic necessity. This word necessary has been dealt with a lot. I'm just going to read this paragraph here because it's to do with the burden of proof and proportionality. Okay. This is the key bit. It has been decided, held means decided. It has been decided that interferences with civil rights must be proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued. Let's just reconsider, let's just agree for now that the coronavirus does exist, right? This COVID-19 strain that they talk about. Let's just agree for now that it does exist. We know statistically that the deaths are predominantly in the elderly or the people with cardiovascular diseases of some kind, plus the odd random one periodically. Is it proportionate to a legitimate aim to lock down the whole country for up to 6 months and call the army on any protesters? Obviously, the answer is no. Correct. What would be proportionate, I would suggest, is focusing the concentrated effort in hospitals, care homes, any outlets for medical care for the elderly or the infirm. That would be proportionate. That's not what's happening, locking down the whole country. That's where the argument lies. If the government are locking down the whole country, that means that it's challengeable under the Human Rights Act because it's not proportionate. So if it's not proportionate, it's therefore not necessary. If it's not necessary, it's unlawful. Therefore, the police cannot implement these provisions against protesters because the provisions themselves are not lawful. You can't be arrested. Well, you might be arrested, but you can't be prosecuted and fined and punished. Take it to court and argue this point. What the government's doing to justify these COVID guidelines or regulations or whatever you want to call them, this new law, it's got to be proportionate, right? And as it says, it varies from case to case. The background circumstances, the right in question, and the type of interference concerned. This 53 represents the cases that are behind at the bottom, which I won't go through because I don't want to get bogged down in it. It's not relevant for what I'm trying to show. No worries. It is not always clear which party has the burden of proof. It's not always clear which party has the burden of proving that the interference has been proportionate. Well, in this instance, it clearly is because it's the government's got to satisfy it. Anyway, various phrases have been used by the court and the commission from time to time to express the idea that the rights in the convention should take priority with the state carrying the burden of justifying the interference. And then there's more cases. For example, the grounds must be relevant and sufficient. Then there's more cases. The necessity for a restriction must be convincingly established. More cases again. And the exceptions to Article 8 to 11 should be narrowly construed. That means that the state's got to satisfy the law, it's got to satisfy the judicial process that in a narrowly interpreted way, that the measures that they have taken against the coronavirus or COVID-19 is both necessary, proportionate, and lawful. And it's narrow. There's no argument that locking down the whole country is disproportionate when the infection rates are minuscule. Less than 1%, less than half of 1% is the death rate per populace of the country. Where are the death rates? Elderly, infirm. That isn't proportionate to deal with 99.9995% of the rest of the population in the same way of this isolation point that they should be dealing with. It isn't proportionate. And that's where the argument lies. So if we go back to the Human Rights Act, we can see clearly that no restrictions should be placed on the exercise of these rights by the state unless it's necessary in a democratic society in the interests of national security or public safety. Well, this is not necessary. So what this means, and this is the conclusion of the point, what this means is that the government cannot take the piss. So what I want to do now, let's bring up a definition for tyranny, because we're basically now in a tyranny. You might not realize it, but we are. Oppressive government or rule, cruel and oppressive, right? Is it oppressive what they're doing right now? Damn right it is. Is it cruel that people are losing their wages, their jobs, their income, their families, all the things that we take for granted because we've worked for them?
Well,
is that cruel?
How about people dying on their own, Anthony?
Yeah.
And what about the people that are not getting the treatment that they should be getting because the NHS is being overwhelmed with empty hospitals for the treatments that they should be getting treatment for, and the dying
life-saving treatments are being made to wait.
I went in for an X-ray to Tooting, a hospital in Tooting, and it was completely empty, and I just couldn't believe it. I ended up getting really angry because they're telling me to wear a mask in there. There's no one in there.
You think it'd be heaving?
I said, I'm the only person in here. Why have I got to wear one? Like, there's no one else in here. And it's craziness, absolute craziness.
Dictatorship.
Governed by a dictator. Well, we all know what a dictator is. We don't even need to go any further. That's what Boris is doing. So we've got Matt Hancock on the Sunday with Andrew Marr saying that we're going to be relaxing these things, and we've got Boris saying I'm bringing in the tanks and the army. I mean, what would you describe that as if it's not dictatorial? It's clearly dictatorial. You will do what I say.
The left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing as well, Anthony. It looks like the left hand isn't communicating.
Well, they moved the
right
goalposts at a rate you wouldn't believe. Like 1 minute it's one colour, the next minute it's another colour. Like, it's crazy. If you're a supposed health expert, you should know what prevents what. You should know the ins and outs of your trade.
But look how many whistleblowers there's been now.
I know.
And why is it that the only people speaking out are doctors? Where's the lawyers? Where's the barristers saying this is clearly wrong? Even politicians, the most dishonest scumbags in the country, are all questioning. He was Andrew, what's his name? Matt Hancock was laughed at in the House of Commons recently when he was trying to explain some of the things that he was doing. Literally laughed at and jeered. Do you need to go anymore? But again, whatever he was saying back then, Boris is doing the complete opposite. So he says, we're at level 3, we should be relaxing restrictions. And then Boris Johnson brings out the tanks. I mean, come on.
24 hours later.
Yeah, 24 hours. Well, it was on Sunday, wasn't it, with Andrew Marr? And we're on, what now, Tuesday dinner time?
48 hours.
It's only just over 24 hours. So I don't know what's happened over the weekend, but clearly there's obviously so much significance happened. Anyway, definition of fascism.
Well, I would say it's probably Trafalgar Square.
Yes.
That's what it is. I think that's what it is that's tipped the scales.
Yeah, 100%.
So that quick definition, then we'll go back to a conclusion. Fascism is an authoritarian and nationalistic right-wing system of government and social organisation. Well, we all know that there are going to be planted people in the crowd deliberately there to stir up violence against the police, to trigger the police to do a reaction.
100%. 100%. Because I wasn't actually there last weekend. I took a bit of time out, but I was told by a lot of my friends that were there that there was people dressed in plain clothes letting the police through the crowds and causing trouble, trying to cause trouble. But yeah, it's easy to see when people are trying to cause trouble at our events because we're all very peaceful. And as soon as someone doesn't fit that card, then it's very easy to sniff them out.
Yeah. So let's just conclude, and then what we'll do is we'll talk generally about how this has gone. But this notice has been, I don't know whether it's been served right this second as I speak, but I believe it's imminently going to be served. So it's written as though it's been served because this is to be used for the weekend. Lots of them are going to be printed out. The crowd are going to get copies. And the idea is that you pass them to police. If the police turn up with riot shields and masks and smoke bombs and horses and treating you like hooligans, you hand this to the police at the earliest available opportunity, and we're going to rely on somebody on the megaphone, speakerphone, walkie-talkie thing to tell the police this. And this is basically it. Because it's already been served on Gold Command and Silver Command by the weekend, this is telling them that they've got to do something different because they've got to abide by the law. And we're going to give them the opportunity, we're going to peacefully give them the opportunity to reconsider their position before they do anything else, and let them have the opportunity to put down their shields. We're not going to attack the police. They've got to be the ones that throw the first punch. They will throw the first punch because they need any excuse, because they're trigger happy. We know it. We've seen it this weekend just gone. We saw the police go, and they came out in original uniforms, normal uniforms. Then they retreated.
Please speak up in the chat room as well. If people are in the chat room, please give your 2 cents worth in the chat room. I know there are people watching that are in the chat room that were there at the weekend. Please let people that are watching that weren't there know what your personal experiences were. Go for it, Miley.
So the police's oath, this is what's going to be said over the microphone, the megaphone to the police, right? When they turn up and they've got the riot shields on, you can tell that trouble's brewing. Whoever's on the microphones or the walkie-talkies needs to get this message across to them because it's simple. The police have an oath, like the doctors have a Hippocratic oath. The police have also got an oath. And in that oath, it's quite long, but the key bit is this. Their police oath says that they promise that they will uphold fundamental human rights. That's the bit we're talking about. And accord equal respect to all people. That includes protesters. That's me, you, families, pregnant women, according to law, right? So we're all entitled to be treated equally and respectfully within our human rights. And the fundamental, right? They can't, that's their oath. They've promised that they'll do that. So that's got to be read to them. And then you've got to read, somebody's got to read this to them. Article 11 on the Convention of Human Rights, as appears in the Human Rights Act, it's copied and pasted pretty much. Everyone's got the right to the freedom of peaceful assembly. That means we're all allowed to be there. And the freedom of association with others. That means we're all allowed to be there in groups. No restrictions shall be placed on the exercise of these rights other than such that are prescribed by law, which is the Corona regs, and are necessary, proportionate, lawful, and necessary in a democratic society. So the guy on the megaphone's got to get those words out. He's got to tell the police that they can't implement these rules because these rules are not necessary in a democratic society. They are not proportionate. They are not lawful. They are not necessary. Once them words get put out there, they basically get behind those 3 words because they're not proportionate. Start cheering.
I'm going to go to bed dreaming about those words tonight. Ready for Saturday.
Necessary. Because support them words because these are your rights, guys. So then the speaker's got to say something similar to this. This needs rewording slightly. It's been reworded slightly. But anyway, I hereby inform you, the riot police, that your command and control are not acting in accordance with Article 11 of the Human Rights Act of 1998, and I respectfully ask you to reconsider your position and put down your shields, or I will fight you peacefully in court and represent the rights of every man, woman, and child. We are allowed to peacefully protest, and small pockets of intentional disturbances by agents of the state that try to make us look violent does not make us look violent. We are unarmed civilians. And then the chance choose your side should be the one. Choose your side. Choose your side. Because they've got to put down the shields. They can't turn on the people. Now, Boris has said today that he's going to get help from the military. The military will not turn against the civilians because the military, the army, are there to protect the civilians. They're going to stop the police.
Yeah, we've got an army whistleblower.
If anything, they'll protect us from the police.
He states that all the time. He says, when you see the army, that's a good thing.
He's a good man, that guy. I know the guy you're talking about. No names, but yes, you're absolutely. I've witnessed that firsthand, him saying that.
Yeah. He said the army are our friends, and
So shout out to the army and the veterans because they're our friends.
Shout out to the army veterans.
Big up the army, big up the veterans.
Yeah. Shout out to the high-vis lot because these are the guys that are going to help us. Now, we're not fighting the police officers personally. So it's not personal against the police. It's personal against the government for implementing regulations, rules, legislation that violate our human rights. There may well be a pandemic. There may well be measures that need to be taken. Let's give them that. But they've got to be proportionate. And they're not proportionate. A blanket ban across the whole country is not proportionate to protect 0.05% of the population, and they're all elderly or infirm. Focus it naturally onto those people because that's where you need to be proportionate, not against the whole bloody country. Come on, it's not hard. But this is the legal
6 months, Anthony. Didn't they say they were going to implement this for 6 months?
6 months, yes. 6 months.
6 months lockdown, guys. They're going to be begging for you to beg.
6 months, guys. We've already done what we've done now. What are we on now? 6 months. Yeah, so it'll be a year lockdown.
What's going to happen, guys, is Boris is going to keep poking you until you're begging for that vaccine. For some reason, they want you to have the vaccine. Don't know why. Might be tracking. Who knows? But that's what they're after. They want you to be begging for that vaccine. Well, the minute you start giving away your rights here,
unlicensed vaccine, I might add, unlicensed fast-track vaccination.
And you know what? I think more imperative than the why is just ask oneself why it's happening now. It's almost about, just focusing on the fact that this is happening now. This is not something that's going to be happening in 3 months' time, in 4 months' time. With regards to this Saturday, I personally would like to give people encouragement at this point. And confidence. I myself am very confident about going into London on Saturday. I will be going there and speaking to as many people as I possibly can. I will be filming as much of it as I possibly can and giving you as much truth and transparency about what is going to be played out on Saturday. So I would urge any of you that see us, come up to us, say hi, give us a few words into the camera, tell us, why you're there. And what your intentions are by being there, because this is what's going to self-evidently document the peaceful aspect of this rally.
I want to give a shout out to the guy that told everyone to sit down, because sitting down means that you're not being aggressive.
My friend Nacho, my friend Nacho.
Yeah. So let's be aware.
It's very, very.
Let's be aware that these guys, don't need much of an excuse to be able to attack. So let's not give them the excuse. Let's be dead peaceful. However, you've got to be aware that these police are trigger happy. So they want us to do something. Don't give them the opportunity. Sit down when you're told to sit down. You're showing passiveness. Don't be afraid to show the palms of your hands, because that's being submissive, right? But we're going to stand our ground if they attack us. The cameras will be there. Everyone's going to be on camera. So don't give them an excuse. Wait for them to make the move. They'll tell you to get back or you'll be arrested. The more you get back, you're going to be getting more concentrated. Allow them to do that to a point, but there's going to come a point where they're going to be make you decide, and that's going to have to be led by everybody collectively, right? So don't be that first guy that throws any punches. Let them do it first, and the minute they do something, then we've got to make a decision. And judging by how it's felt at the time, how many numbers we've got, that's basically where we decide what to do. But the minute they attack us, that's where it all goes wrong, because they can't do this. It's oppressive, it's fascist, it's dictatorial, it's illegal, and we're allowed to defend our rights because we don't want to give these rights up. They're our rights. We're not giving them up, and you're not going to. And if we did give them up, we're never going to get them back. So don't give them the rights. Jimmy, what you need to be aware, we need to motivate the audience with regards to, like, they're going to have to accept that they're going to be led by the man on the speakerphone. So you're going to have to shout out and control the situation like a DJ, man. It's going to be the best gig of the night.
Yeah, me amongst others. Yeah, we're going to have to really sort of put our heads together, keep tight, and like all the stuff I say on normal marches, just keep tight to each other, look after the person next to you, spread love and truth without being aggressive, and that's so much more powerful as well. And once you do that and they realize how genuine you are, be it just wanting the truth, then there's not really much they can do to you, really. There's not. And like you said, when we're using these words, you're empowering us with this information. We can bring that onto the street now, spread the word to everyone in our group and everyone that's going to be attending to act in the same way. And I think we're going to prosper from that, for sure.
Let me give a little bit of background with regards to, I'll not name names, but the people that I've spoke to 4 people that have been so-called arrested for coronavirus regulation violations. They've all been released without charge, right? One's been released under investigation, but the others have been released without charge. They don't seem to be prosecuted at the minute. Now, when have you ever heard the police release you without charge when you're caught red-handed breaking coronavirus regs, right?
Exactly, it's ridiculous.
We're all doing it. We all know that we're doing it, but they're not charging you, so the police know that.
And the fines in as well. Like I said to you before, I got fined on the second week of lockdown. I had a back brace on. I had a broken back. The police wrestled me across the road. I went mental because I had a broken back. Said, I want your names and numbers. They melted. The coppers left the scene that actually attempted to arrest me. And another police lady come up to me and issued me a fine. Took my name and address or whatever, gave me the fine. But I've never received that fine. Because I said to them, if I receive a fine, you'll be receiving a complaint about the police brutality on my broken back.
Yeah.
So
really, the point I want to get across to everyone watching is, don't be afraid to be arrested. Right? You might lose your liberty for the next 24 hours, but if you are prosecuted, then get in touch with us, because we'll refer you back to this video. Your answers are all in this video that we've created. But don't be afraid of being arrested. There are going to be some people that get arrested if the police turn violent against the unarmed civilians, pregnant women, children, families. But don't be afraid, because so long as you remember Article 11, and it's the implementation of the law that's wrong, not what you're doing that seems to be illegal. It's the police implementing that law that's wrong. That's where your argument is. Now, whether or not that argument stands in court or not is kind of irrelevant, because what it does is it creates the reasonable doubt over the allegation that you've committed a crime, which is what they need to be able to, if there's reasonable doubt that you've committed a crime, the crime, in other words, that the legislation is illegal, which it is, then you're not going to be convicted, because they can't satisfy the burden of proof. So regardless of whether or not you've followed the COVID guidelines or the COVID regulations or whatever you want to call these rules now, it's not that you've broken the regulations, it's the regulations shouldn't even be in. So your argument's not to do with your conduct, it's to do with the implementation of that legislation against you in the first place. That's where the argument is.
Yeah, just scare tactics, because they've been doing this from the beginning, arresting people. They're out of the station within 10 minutes. It's just a scare tactic for people, bystanders to think, oh my God, they're all getting arrested. And people in the media, so they've got people getting arrested to then deter people to turning up. That's all it is. It's just an illusion.
It seems to be illusory, yeah. And the other thing to mention is that if there's lawyers and barristers that are watching this, guys, you're going to have to help people in society here, because obviously we're not going to get, well, I don't know what the police, I mean, the way the court system's working at the moment, it's all being done by, like, where possible by Microsoft Teams. But my point is this, like, there's legal guys out there that know this is wrong. Where's people standing up and putting their head above the parapet? These are our rights, guys. You all know that this is challengeable. Oh, and I just want to address as well, there are some guidelines. It says in this legislation, this new legislation, that so long as you comply with the COVID guidelines for protesting, it'll be okay. Now, the guidelines for protesting are not actually the law, right? The guidelines. So there's an argument one way that says, well, the guidelines dilute it and make it more proportionate. Okay, but the guidelines, they're not the law, so they've got no legal effect. But if they're considered to be laws because they're referencing a document that makes it law, then okay, fine. But is it still proportionate to abide by these COVID guidelines when basically there's three elements to it. There's necessary, proportionate, and lawful. Well, if you're going to argue for proportionate, that's fine. Show us that the virus actually exists, because you've got to get all three right. So let's just say that the guidelines one's fine. They've got the guidelines, that makes it proportionate. Well, demonstrate that the virus even exists. So there's more than enough argument there to create more than enough reasonable doubt that these guidelines are unlawful. So you're not going to be prosecuted in court. You may think that you are, but just remember Article 11 and tell them that they can't implement these laws because they've got to comply with the three words, and they can't do it. So you're not going to be prosecuted. And if you are, and they scapegoat somebody, because they always seem to pick on the likes of Piers Corbyn, £10,000 fine, they're not going to be implementing this because they can't win it in court. You can raise more than enough reasonable doubt that you haven't committed any crime. And let's be honest, everyone's asking the same questions, aren't they? We're all wondering whether or not this is legitimate and genuine. Let's say it might be. It's not proportionate, but even if they say it is, okay, demonstrate that it exists, because everyone knows there's a bogeyman out there, but where is he? We don't see him.
And where's the proof of it? And that we've seen the government have openly admitted that they've messed about with the numbers and the death count and whatever else. So what really can we trust anyway?
Nothing. We can't trust anything from the government.
That the scientists don't know what they're talking about. I heard Trump on the mic the other day saying he doesn't think that the scientists know what they're talking about anymore. I can't actually put the words quote unquote, but I'm sure there's a few people in the chat room that have heard that as well. There seems to be a slight turn in the tide with them trying to distance themselves from the science a little bit now. No worries. I think there's a little bit of a distancing going on from the science. I know that people may not think that, seeing those two individuals on yesterday from our country, but there seems to be a bit of, like you would say, hawky porky going on now, because it's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing anymore. There's definitely conflicting messages being given.
I've seen peer-reviewed papers that are very graphic and detailed about what they claim is this virus, right? As far as I can tell by reading the papers that I've read, there is no isolation of this virus. They've not isolated virus. They're dealing with this coronavirus that they're calling COVID-19, this SARS-52 or whatever its proper name is. They haven't isolated it to prove that it exists. They're talking about it in a language that is like legalese, but they need to demonstrate proof that this thing actually does exist. And that's the key bit that they need. As far as I can tell so far, at the time of doing this is the 22nd of September. I don't know. I have not seen evidence that this thing has been isolated, that it actually exists. They talk about it. They describe how it seems to behave. Well, what is it? Because it seems like we're talking about, I don't know, Narnia again. It's like gravity. It's like, what? It doesn't really exist, does it? Come on.
Again, I completely agree with you here. It's something that's neither tangible or provable. I've got no source material to proclaim that it's legitimate, or there being any proof for what we're being locked down for. There's already issues with people's ability to get to London on the weekend. Don't know if anyone else is aware of this, but a swathe of North Wales has been put into a lockdown, and you can't leave the area unless it's a necessary journey. So there are already pockets in England and Wales that have been put on a local lockdown, and those individuals aren't able to get out of that area. More info on that, keep an eye on the community post, and I'll try and keep you up to date with what parts of the country seem to be affected. I've seen the mayor of Liverpool, the mayor of Manchester, the London mayor The mayors across England are begging to be involved in the Cobra meetings. The guy was on from Manchester this morning, literally begging to be involved in Cobra, saying that when swine flu, and this is a really good point, right? This is what I'd like to mention here. The mayor of Manchester said that when swine flu was going across the country, every section of the country was involved in the Cobra meetings because they had to, you know, analyze the spread of how this was going across the animals. Why is there less urgency with humans as there was with animals? That's literally the analogy the guy was making. He was going, how can you not involve us in this, but yet you involved us in the swine flu epidemic? So there is a lot of weird conflicting messages coming across the country's mayors and elected individuals for, you know, smaller areas. Again, things are changing very, very quickly in London. There's no mask, no service. I was speaking to a guy that has COPD, and the shop that I was coming out of was enforcing that in order to go in the shop, he needed to put a mask on. And he went, I've got enough problems breathing as it is, love. I won't be putting a mask on. They refused him service. He was just going in to top up his gas and electric. They refused him service. They said they can't serve him. No masks, no service. When I asked why, they said that the liaison officers from the police have been into the corner shop, and we're just talking about your average little fag shop on the corner, saying that by Saturday, it's funny how Saturday was brought up, that by Saturday, if they're caught serving anybody without a mask on, they will be fined by the local council. I live near Richmond in a place called Feltham. Any of you that live in the Feltham area, just go around your local shops. When you get back home tonight, just look in your local shops and see if they're started, because he said the liaison officers came around in person. They walked in the shop and they said, yeah, mate, you can't be doing this anymore. The local council will fine you if you keep serving people but without masks on. So I'm like, what's the urgency? Why does everyone have to become unidentifiable very quickly? Why do we need the whole country not to be able to? Because I'm looking, you know, if you were, let's say you were real dodgy individuals and you were on the run and you needed a really good cover, just get the whole of Earth to like conceal themselves, and then you can move around as you wish.
Yeah.
So I feel that there's a multi-prong of things happening here, but things are moving at warp speed. And when they move at warp speed, like they are literally since the weekend to now, and we were only at Tuesday, Riley. You would think we were maybe at Thursday, the amount of things that have happened since Saturday to now, and the speed in which the government has accelerated the enforcements and draconian measures that they're trying to bring in. So again, we are going to end this stream on a positive note, because the good thing in all of this is even though a lot of people are saying a lot of things, still doesn't really affect your liberty to go out there and exercise your freedom of speech. Am I right, Riley?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, you can take
about nothing.
At the end of the day, you can take the view that, well, it's not really affected me so much, so I'm not that bothered about it. But at the end of the day, it's not about you and your individual experience. It's about everybody's current experience, but also the children's future experience. Because I tell you something, if Boris takes them off us, we ain't getting them back. So I just want to stick my screen on, if you would, please, Roxanne.
Oh, yeah.
I want to shout out some of these names on here, because these are all the people that are speaking out, right? You've got Dr. Wakefield, Dr. Kaufman, you've got Dr. Tenpenny, Dr. Madji, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Professor Dolores Cahill, Dr. Corbett, Dr. Buttar, what's that one? Del Bigtree? I'm not sure who that one is, but anyway, look at all the Dr. Niall McRae.
Yeah.
These are all doctors that are telling you that there's some hokey pokey going on. Okay, we're not doctors. We don't really understand what's going on, but we are asking the question, right? But whilst the questions are being asked, we're having our liberties taken off us. So granted, it may not have affected you in the lockdown, and you might be looking forward to it because your business might be doing well. It actually affects everybody because it's our rights. Don't give them up, because if we give them up, they won't give us them back, guys. I'm telling you now, they won't give us them back.
Exactly.
When a country gets conquered, when does it get given back without a fight? Never. The whole world's been conquered by this situation. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the fact that there are learned individuals that have made a whole career about saving people and making people feel good about themselves and making them well again. the fact that they have, you know, everything to lose and nothing to gain by going against the narrative, the fact that they've come out, whether people are paranoid about some of these doctors or not, and their intentions, the fact of the matter is they're qualified doctors who are coming out against the narrative and explaining to people this is not what it's pertained to be. And that there is everything. In the conversations I've had with people when they are blindly believing what they're being told, I'm saying, how is it then that you've got doctors that are coming on record saying it's not that?
I just want to close with one last statement.
Yep.
It's really important that you don't lose your temper and lose that peaceful status, because the media will make it look like we're the ones that are the tyrants. Don't give them the opportunity. Yeah, let them attack us first, then we'll defend ourselves, or whatever. Whatever happens on the day happens on the day. But just remember, on the positive note, in court, we can raise more than enough reasonable doubt that this legislation is unlawful. If we can raise the doubt beyond all reasonable doubt, which is not, that's a high burden for them to satisfy. We can show that they can't satisfy that in a court because our human rights are being violated, and they can't satisfy those 3 words, that 3-word test: necessary, proportionate, and lawful. They can't satisfy it. So nobody's going to be getting punished. So don't be scared of being arrested. Don't be scared of even getting prosecuted. There are people out there that will come forward after seeing this and passing it around to different people. There will be lawyers that come out that can represent you, because every lawyer, every single lawyer gets taught basic human rights and they know how to deal with it. Whether or not they'll come forward right now or not, I don't know. But once this becomes a pandemic situation with our rights, from our rights perspective, then they will do. So you won't be getting arrested, and if you do get arrested, you won't be getting prosecuted. And if you do get prosecuted, don't worry, that we can deal with it, because what they're doing is tyrant, it's fascist, it's tyrannical. We're living in a tyranny, guys. It's not meant to be this way, but we are. So the positive note is, don't worry about being arrested. You're not breaking the laws to assert your rights, and we can deal with it if you do. So don't be afraid of the police, and the army are our friends. Don't attack first. Keep that peaceful status.
Yeah, well said. And this here that I'm sharing on the screen now is this weekend. It is a We Do Not Consent mass rally before the 6-month review of the Coronavirus Act 2020. Guest speakers include Gareth Icke, David Icke, and that will be from, I think that says 12 p.m. That does say 12 p.m.
Zoom in a bit. Let them see it bigger.
Zooming in. Here we go. Okay, there we go. All right. 12 p.m. the 26th of September, London, Trafalgar Square. Save Our Rights, Stand Up X, E202, Stop New Normal, Save Lives, and Earth United will be there as well. Pretty much everyone who's been coming out over the last few weeks as well. That is this weekend, the 26th of September.
And tactically, it's worth pointing out, put all the mothers and children at the front line, because the truncheons, when they get drawn, they're not going to attack women and children. Blokes at the back, or 2 or 3 back, women and children at the front, because they won't attack children. And if they do, the army's there to stop it. They're on our side, the army. The police aren't. The police are doing what they're told because they think that that's okay. Well, that's what happened in World War II, isn't it, with the Nazi army? They acted as though it was their job and that was therefore okay. That's not okay. The human rights, even though it might be a job, still you've got to work within the law. So women and children really need to be on the front, then the blokes behind. And if anybody starts any funny business, that's when you've got to make some decisions. But make sure they attack first. Don't throw the first punch. And then I don't know what happens.
Keep it as peaceful as possible. Nobody's going to be attacking anyone under my watch, and I'll make sure that we.
And if anybody does start throwing punches and getting over aggressive,
we know they're infiltrators straight away.
Yeah.
So all you infiltrators out there, we're onto you. We know what you're trying to do, but you will never achieve what you're trying to do, because all we have is love and compassion for each other, and it's going to be easily seen that who's who, because we're all good people with good values, and we're not subjecting ourselves to this anymore. So that's all we're here for: a fair future, a fair life. We're good people with good values.
Yeah.
Listen for the command to sit down. Listen for the command to sit down, because obviously once we all get the word to sit down, make sure you do sit down. Put your palms up, show submission. They can't attack you when you sat down and not being aggressive. but don't let them come at you, because they will come at you, and they will start being. They'll say to you, "Back off, or you will be arrested." Doesn't matter. Stand your ground and sit down, because they can't. There's no law for them that permits them to say, "Stand back, or you will be arrested." Don't be afraid of being arrested. They can't prosecute you, and if they do prosecute you, that's our chance. It's an opportunity for them.
They can't. It won't withstand in court. That's why no one's getting charged.
Yep. So it's an opportunity. If you get arrested, you're going to be the guy that says, "Whoa, hang on a second, this law is unlawful," and we can deal with that at a later date. But right now, don't be afraid of being arrested. Don't be afraid of standing your ground. And palms up. Show them your palms. Sit down. Listen for that command to sit down. It's the best command ever. Once you get that command, sit down. Because watch what they do. Because they're dying for you to attack them. You see.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
Yeah, well said, guys. So hopefully that has helped all of you that are watching now and on a replay. The Really Woke Show will be back on Thursday, same time, same place. We will reiterate some of the things that have been said today and bring you up to speed with everything that's going on Thursday. And obviously, we will be here to give you encouragement to do what you need to do on Saturday. There are multiple things actually going on the 26th of September. I want to give a massive shout out to all the girls, lovely ladies from Save Our Children UK, who are going to be out again on Saturday, the 26th of September. They have people giving testimonies, speakers. They're going to be doing things massively different this time.
It's going to be an amazing event. I'm so gutted I can't make that one, but I saw all the commotion in London last weekend. I thought I need to be a calming presence and a bit of experience and try and, like I said, I'm not an organizer or anything like that, but I'm a natural leader, and I'm going to do my best to try and keep a bit of order and really spur people on to just do the right thing and not fall into these government traps.
Yeah, well said.
And just keep a peaceful aspect of what we're doing. And like I said, love will always win. Love is much more powerful than fear. We just have to use it to our advantage and turn the tables naturally with love rather than aggression. And then the people that are on the fence are just going to turn a blind eye to it anyway. So you just need to show complete unity and compassion for each other, and just show them we're not going to move anywhere, but don't react aggressively.
Yeah, so that's the event there on the screens there. Save Our Children rally, Saturday the 26th of September. That's at St George's Hall, Liverpool, at 1 p.m. You can check Save Our Children UK out on Instagram. You'll find all the details for how you can get in contact with them, and that is up in Liverpool. So all of you that can't get all the way down to London, I would urge you, please go and support the girls in Liverpool and go and show out and be there for them. As you can see in their post there, they've explained what they're going to be doing things a little bit differently. We do hope the weather stays nice for them on the 26th of September. Please, can everyone keep posting and tagging Save Our Children? So please share that. Let's get Liverpool coming together for the children, please.
Just want to add,
because without the children, we have nothing. We have to stand up for our children, stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. Because I can assure you, the government is not going to do it. That is at the bottom of their agenda.
Yeah.
They might not admit that, but I can assure you it is.
Big time.
I just want to add as well,
the safeguards being dropped for children over this virus. A lot of the safeguarding's been dropped and relaxed, they like to say. But I don't think we should be accepting things like that.
Information on the Save Our Children peaceful rally, which will be in London, Hyde Park Speaker's Corner from 1 p.m. onwards on the 10th of October 2020. They will be marching onto the BBC. Groups such as Stand Up X, Stand Up for the Children, Eyes Wide Open, Save Our Children, Fighters for the Children, and many, many more. We are the voice of the children.
I just want to add that the coronavirus regs that are being implemented in London, everything that's been said in this show today with regards to like everything in the first half equally applies in Liverpool as it does in London, because it's the implementation by the police of the regulations or of the law that's the issue, not the person that's doing the protesting. So even though this is protesting,
I'm glad you mentioned that, Riley, because while you're saying that, I'm going to put an optic up. I'm glad you said that. Please remember what you just said, because I need to for everybody, because sometimes you cannot tell people, you have to show people. So as you're saying that, just say it again, Sam, because in this picture, we have a peaceful protest, which is being met with riot police. And guess what we have on the next slide, everyone? We have a BLM protest in the same place outside Downing Street, and look what the police are doing there.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's Saturday just gone.
Yeah.
And here's BLM. I'll say it again.
And we
Saturday
saw the week
just
before
gone,
as well with
BLM.
the Save Our Children march in London. Is that same treatment as
They're fine with Antifa and BLM all day long.
because it fits their agenda.
There you go.
So let me just point out something massive on them two pictures. Aside from the fact that one's in riot gear and there's on horseback, go to the other one, Roxanne. Make that as big as you can. Can you get that bigger?
For some reason, no. Sorry, that's as big as it goes.
Look at the fact that the cops are down on one knee. That submission is symbolic. It symbolizes that they are subservient to that group for some reason. Why? I do not know. But down on one knee is symbolic, guys. Wake up.
And you can see the look, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Crush white supremacists. He's smiling. He's smiling. She's smiling. And they're down on their knees. But hey ho, a couple of people outside Gezza's pen in Downing Street the other day. I'm sorry, just outside Downing Street. And yeah, let's clothesline the guy to the floor.
Yeah.
And
look, on horseback as well.
They always try, like, you notice they try and like pick on people on their own, and they single people out and go for easy targets. So we can't leave people stranded. We have to be one tight unit, stay together, look after the person next to you, like I always say. And you're never going to know when you're going to need that person. So we all need to become friends, all by names, or by numbers, by social media. We need to be more than just a number. We need to unify so we're stronger than what we're against, which are numbers, people that are just put there to do a job. We need to be there as a family unit and look after each other. So that's what I'm going to be there to do on Saturday. And hopefully I can keep it as smooth, make it run as smooth as possible, with as little problems as possible. But I'm sure we're going to be met with a lot of challenges, but we've got to try and be as ready for them as we can. And like I said, I just come down, I turn up, and for things that I believe in, and I just want truth. I want a fair future. I want a fair life for my son. And those of you that don't know me, my son is actually vaccine injured. That's what put me on this journey. And when I heard about the COVID-19 fast track unlicensed vaccinations being talk of them being made mandatory, it really excelled me to reach out to people, and that's how I got meeting people like Roxanne, people like yourself. So yeah, and what I've found is every single person I've watched a video of, or I've admired something they've said, I've ended up meeting them. So everyone's falling into place. We're all coming together. We just need to keep spreading love, keep spreading truth against this evil regime, this agenda. You know what I mean? This there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with. We won't go into those, but
I think a lot of people can resonate with that. I think there's a lot.
I've just realised as well.
Yeah.
There's a realistic probability that YouTube will remove this video because of the nature of it. So Roxanne, is it okay if everybody shares this and re-ups this so that it gets back?
Please do. Please do. Mirror it, download it, screen grab it, do whatever you want with it. You have my pleasure.
Yeah. We come with love, with truth, with compassion. We don't come with aggression. And we have done from our first march back in April. Or no, early May it was. Sorry, early May.
At the end of the day, the reality is they'll do what they want. And if they don't like the look of it, they'll just take it down. So just make sure you download this now, share it, and get it uploaded, because people need to know.
Yeah, it's like when you had them problems with BLM against Tommy Robinson and that earlier in the year. We went down there, 50 of us, with Unite Not Divide signs, and the police literally took their shields off and stuff, because I was there going, your kids have got to grow up with our kids. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're letting more people in for violence, but you're not letting us in to try and stop it. And I was there just saying to them, can you let me in just to try and diffuse this situation a little bit? And they were saying no, but then they were letting more people in that wanted to start trouble. So then you knew that they had a hidden agenda behind it, because otherwise why wouldn't they want someone to help them stop the trouble? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Correct. So it's about being clued up to these known playbooks that are getting played out. It's just a classic case of divide and conquer. Just
obvious. That's what they've always done, and that's what they're going to keep doing until we, as the people, wake up to this situation and say, no, we're not. I'm not going to not like him because he thinks that, or I'm not going to like them because they look like that, or they're that color, or this color, or they've got that religion. We're all one as people. All we want is a fair life for each other, so to live harmoniously in the same place as each other. We don't need all these hidden agendas and these different regimes from our media and brainwashing tactics and psychological warfare. It's absolute shocking. The fear mongering we're seeing now is really starting to step up. It's unbelievable.
I'm sure you in the chat room that are watching now can resonate with a lot of what Jimmy's saying. They're ramping it up at warp speed. So this is why this is so imperative now, to understand how you can empower yourself so that you can carry on going out and speaking about what you're passionate about speaking out about. Just
never live in fear. Never live in fear. And what's the worst case scenario? These fines and stuff are illegitimate. If you do get one through the door, what are you gonna? Is that gonna shut you up? Is that gonna stop you having a future? I don't think so. £200. They've cranked it up, doubled it. For people like me that want a fair life, that's not really going to bother me whatsoever. So
I'll tell you what.
Press 1 in the chat room if you will be complying to any of these new regulations, and press 2 if you won't. And also, I've got another one coming up after I get the feedback for that, and then I'll ask one more before we close down. But before we do, is there anything that any of you guys would like to give your final thoughts on? Anthony, I'll let you go first.
Just 2 things. Don't be afraid to be arrested, right? We can deal with it later. There's going to be plenty of people that are pissed off that can fix this for you. Get in touch with us if you need to, because we can pick. It's not difficult to find the right people. And if you do get arrested and fined, and if it all goes wrong, I'm pretty sure that a GoFundMe account to pay the legal fees and the fine and all that will be sorted, because nobody agrees with what's going on here. Even if you disagree about the COVID thing and you think it's a real thing and all that, nobody disagrees with somebody expressing their right to maintain their civil rights and liberties, right? It's a fundamental right that we all have, and we don't want to lose it. That's the first thing. Second thing is, listen for the command to sit down. Listen to the organisers. Don't get carried away in the drama. Listen
maybe not the organisers, the speakers. It'd be more speakers, or
that's a bad word. I'll retract the word organiser. I'll speak the megaphone. Look, listen to it and sit down. When you hear that command to sit down, that's because we want to show that we're passive, that we're not aggressive, we're not causing trouble, and we're definitely not throwing the first punch. So listen for that command.
No punches will be thrown. The more we make them look silly, the better. The more we're not submitting because by being there, that's not a submission by backing down. You're just showing them you're not there for trouble. You're there just to stand strong as people and say no. Like just one big fat no. That's it. That's all we need to do. And once their power is invisible, their power is, as long as we keep complying to it, then they have power. But when us as people say no, this is illegitimate. I want some proof that that needs to be put in place, these legislations, these laws. And like you said, under the Human Rights Act, they can't do it. So we as people just need to stand firm, stand together, spread love, as I always say, and just come together and forget any differences we might have had before. Most of the problems that are put in front of us are put there for a reason, or we've been manipulated to think that by somebody that's been misled themselves. So we really need to start looking at our own information. The truth isn't going to slap us in the face. You do really need to dig deep. You can't just look at Google and think, oh, okay, Google says that. No, you need to look at 3 or 4 different aspects of it and different opinions. You can't just take one person's thing for anything. That's what we're seeing with the government. We're only having government officials telling us information. No independent information is allowed out there. So you really need to start thinking about the censorship. Why is there no second side of the story? That's all I'm asking people to do. I'm not saying listen to me, but I've read the Times newspaper. It says the flu's 5 times more, kills 5 times more people. That's not me. That's the Times newspaper. So they really need to stop moving the goalposts, work out their story, and get
stick to it.
and stick to it.
Yeah.
Because it's like me, if I'm building your house and halfway through the build, I knock down say I've got to knock down your extension because I've built the extension, the foundation's too small, forgotten all your insulation, the windows are in the wrong place. We may as well knock it down, but I'll build it back. You'd be like, get off my property, mate. I don't want you here. Like, but why are we not like that about our own healthcare and our own children's health and our own treatment of our children?
Right.
We really need to start. Don't take everything you hear on the TV for gospel. Right. Because there's a hidden agenda behind the TV. It's owned by the same companies as that give us all this information. So they're all interlinked with each other. It's up to us to think, hold on, that doesn't weigh up. Let's have a look at my own source of information. Talk to other people about it, see what they think. Weigh up other opinions. You can't just take one opinion for anything in any situation in life. And there's no smoke without fire in any situation in life. People are not just making all this information up. There's very valid points and there's very valid videos out there that would make you question a lot of things. So just there's plenty of them out there. They are censoring a lot of them and they are removing a lot of them. But while you can, get on there and make your own mind up.
They're telling the masses that the thousands that have been out in London are a bunch of conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to do that.
That's what the mainstream media is saying. They're saying, you know, they're borderline conspiratorial.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Course. And like people say to me, oh, you've got that person on the stage. Well, not me personally, but my groups that I represent, stand up and whatever. But they say, oh, you've got that person on stage, you're wrong for having them. I'm not about that. I just like to see the people out. That's my main goal, what I started this whole journey on. I just want to see people out thinking the same thing as me, asking the same people the same questions, not all this watered down information against different sets of people trying to turn us all against each other. We need to all sit back and think, why are we getting given this information? Who's putting this all on TV? Why is there one virus being put on TV? Death count, death count, death count, death count, when so many other things which we've seen are so much higher. Why could they not, like, if they were that bothered about our health, they'd ban things like Coca-Cola, junk food, like all the other stuff that we're seeing that's bringing a lot of death to people. The questions should be being asked. If they're going to amplify this virus that much, surely that anyone with half a brain cell would think, what about all the other stuff? What about all the other patients? What about all the other stuff that needs to be asked? What about all the
ailments, the known ailments?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but people are just going, okay, because BBC or ITV or whatever says that's that. No, these companies are all owned by the same type of people with all the same agendas, unfortunately. So you really, like I said, just look at your own information, listen, get on shows like this and listen to your local groups that's trying to tell you the truth, because they're not making no money. They're doing it for a reason, for the good of all people. They're not trying to con you or anything. No. There probably are some groups out there along those lines, but I can assure you I wouldn't be involved in anything like that. Yeah. So I'm just here for the good of my child, for good of other people's child, and a better future than what I'm seeing around the corner under this regime.
The other thing to be aware of is don't be afraid to link arms, like form a human chain with linking your arms.
I thought that was brilliant. I might add that I was watching that video. I took my son on a caravan holiday. I was watching that video on the way up there, the live footage from Saturday. It was the most surreal experience I've ever had, because I'm normally there and I wanted to jump through the phone and go, no, and do this and do that. But it was so, like, that has really fueled my fire now for next week. So I'm going to be very calm, very collective, and very productive, I hope, in helping this situation.
Do you think a lot of other people might feel that way as well?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that haven't been before, it's either going to work one way or the other. Some people that are on the fence may be a little bit scared, but we cannot let they're there to scare you. This whole situation is there to scare you, even the virus in itself. So I've found that people are more scared of other people's opinions on what they think about than the actual virus anyway. Yeah. So we need to really just question our own values and question what we go mad over and what we get told by the TV. Because if you got told everything on TV, if they put everything what goes on in the world on TV, there would be mass riots every day or mass rallies every day. But because the TV drip feeds you information as it sees fit, when it wants you to go mad, and when it wants you to react. So we need to stop falling into government traps. Stop listening to corrupt companies like the BBC and whatever other news channels that are all connected to each other. And And that's it. Like, just to really question what we're being told. That's the only thing I'm asking. So
the other thing is, try and find anybody that's been arrested and see if they've actually been charged, because the 4 are getting released.
Yeah, we've had loads of people in our group when we early stages of Stand Up X back in May. A lot of people were getting arrested, and like some of my friends were out within 10 minutes. They're just booking them in, bye. You know what I mean? It's just to get them. It's just a visual thing to scare people. That's all it is. It's all an illusion. Our whole life's an illusion. Everything we've ever been told is basically an illusion. It's all watered down from the truth. The truth is a very hard thing to come by in this life we live.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, good point. Good point. I think what we'll do is we'll wrap it up for today.
Yeah.
The Real Work Show will be back again on Thursday, and please, you're more than welcome to come back on the show.
Yeah, I'll come back. No worries,
darling.
No worries.
You, Riley, we may need you a few more times on the show to give us your 2 cents worth from the legal aspect of things that are going on. A bit like a legal observer. Perhaps.
We can fight this. We just need to know our rights. And if you know your rights, go back to the first 15 minutes of this video and listen again. And then I tell you what's really interesting. Let's go back to the first 15 minutes and then listen to Boris's speech in the House of Commons today when he's talking about how he's going to fight this virus. Change the word virus to fight this reaction by the citizens of the country.
Should we finish on a clip of that? Have you got any clips of it?
We'll stick one in, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's get one in just to shape, just to really get people out on Saturday, because that, when I saw that, that really infuriated me. It's just talking about anything they want out there with no backbone to it at all.
Yeah,
so
he's talking about
us the very end for that. Go on, Anthony.
He's talking about us when he's talking about fighting this virus. He's literally talking about us.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. So, yeah, stay tuned till the very end for that short clip of what we're talking about. And we will see you back on Thursday, same time, same place, for another edition of the Really Woke Show. I will also try my best to do a short live stream on Saturday, just to let you know that I'm there. I'm covering it. We're in the vicinity, but pretty much most of Saturday.
Back with a vengeance.
Yeah, back with a vengeance. We are going to be pre-recording because I want to give you the best possible quality video and audio of the day's events, and we'll give it to you as truthful and transparent as possible. So the next time you'll see me will be on Thursday, and then again on Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Really Woke Show. Myself, Really Woke Roxanne, West End Wonderful, and Sleeping Warrior. See you all soon. Adios.